Have you ever played Adventure Quest Worlds? Back in the days of Flash games, if you couldn't play World of Warcraft, you could try Adventure Quest Worlds, an MMORPG that bridges the wide universe established throughout multiple other Flash MMORPG games, all made by Ardix Entertainment. In Worlds, you battle the forces of chaos under the banners of good and evil. Don't be fooled, there's a deeper plot to this. The difference between these protagonist factions is purely a matter of aesthetics and method. Good quests and good-sided characters are generally bright, heroic from a glance, and oozing with classic good guy traits. On the other hand, evil quests and evil characters, unless outright antagonistic, are more ruthless, a get-the-job-done attitude that bleeds throughout their entire faction. It's the little details in between dialogue and quest lines that separate and distinguish what exact faction you could choose to represent. And if you don't like one side, you can always change sides. I'm not saying morality is as easy as paying 100,000 gold and signing a contract, far from it. But for a Flash game, it really shows how flexible being a good-intentioned protagonist can seemingly be. World of Warcraft has a similar thing where they have the Horde and the Alliance, which more or less mirror the good and evil sides of Adventure Quest Worlds. How any of these factions get the job done is a matter that is purely personal, and though taking a side becomes relatively minor, especially as the plot unfolds, it does present a consistent crossroads to the different kinds of protagonists found across fiction. It got me thinking about the varying degrees of morality that are shown by the countless people found in every nook and cranny of fiction and history. Growing up, I had a bit of everything to experience. Some superhero stuff here, some anime here, some animated movies here, and everything else in between, with an extra dash of Tom and Jerry and other cartoons. I watched cinematic films from east to west. I grew up with books like Geronimo Stilton and The Wind in the Willows. I played King of Fighters in one arcade machine, then Metal Slug in the next. Popped open Pokemon Sapphire one day, then played Mega Man Battle Network the next. It all added up more the further I continued to age. All the hidden meanings and details behind stories, characters, designs, and so on. This is a tribute to everything I've come to understand so far. Morality stands at the center of an individual's behavior and nature. Morality then contributes to the exact nature of their desires and motives, and the consequential implications that follow. This results in countless variations of goals and characterizations, including the hows and whys. Fire up any work of fiction or nonfiction, and you can find thousands of protagonists and antagonists in heroic or villainous roles. From an arcade machine to a Netflix series, a comic book adaptation to a fictional portrayal. There's no shortage of heroes that inspire and energize the spirits of audiences across the world, or villains that bring conflict and change to established settings and places. I've always liked the idea of the hero of 1,000 faces, the concept of the same moral canvas painted in different strokes and highlighted in different shades across different settings, different characters, and different stories, all under the umbrella of a singular theme, scenario, or conflict. This is why we can have both Jack Sparrow and Monkey D. Luffy, Spider-Man and Batman, Master Chief and Kratos. What makes heroes, anti-heroes, and all manner of protagonists distinct across their stories is their understanding and application of moral principles in the pursuit of their goals and personal values. Some are obvious in their differences. You can distinguish immediately what makes someone like Superman dramatically different from someone like Spawn. Although this may sound like a Captain Obvious moment, it's the smallest but most succinct details that flesh out the means and methods by which the moral spectrum found within these characters are portrayed. In these worlds of human imagination, their roles begin with their morality, and their stories are a series of entanglements between the defined or undefined sides of good and evil, and the character's incomplete understanding of either. For example, someone's intentions may seem rowdy and disorderly, but they actually possess a greater sense of purpose. Fighting for your father's honor and company is a valid reason to enter a fighting tournament, It's a noble goal mixed with a belligerent spirit that matches the purpose of and the intent behind such a peculiar environment. That's why it's intriguing to see how Superman deals with a crisis that can't just be punched into the moon, like poverty or world hunger. This type of challenge is not an appeal to the superpowered side of his superhero career, but an appeal to what makes him Superman. A story that explores his humanity and morality. That isn't to say that these themes of humanity don't have the same degree of relevance to a character like Spawn. Rather, the portrayal is simply different. The human way that Spawn deals with a problem is blowing its brains out with a machine gun. In this, we see the near infinite variety to which our many-faced main protagonist deals with the shortcomings of their own character, strengths and weaknesses included, as they face their own unique set of challenges. And inherently, all of them seek to do good things. Sometimes there's just moral holes in the way they do things. Sounds like real life. The complexity of context is the real challenge that can test any one person's morality in unexpected ways. Self-defense in, say, Civilization is going to be very different in Borderlands, but based on present moral values, the intent may differ. We all want to do good things. A hero is defined by what they stand for and believe in. It's their morals that are defined by what they're willing to do and how far they're willing to go to achieve what they believe in. If morality was to be put into technical terms, then the methods of evil come with a peculiar set of short-sightedness to the downright deadening of hope, while the actions of good tend to have a long-term dedication and vision. You could go all Dr. Manhattan and argue for the case of either side of the moral spectrum in a purely logical sense. But to stand upon pure impartiality is to be ignorant of the impact that good and evil have as fundamental principles that entire worlds have been shaped by. In a world of black and white, a gray area is also formed, the characteristic purgatory by which someone learns to discern what is truly right and what is absolutely wrong. Because good and evil is not just a thought, but a feeling, one that transforms the very nature of someone's life. If character appeal was to be measured, design stands at a surface level, but it's their characteristics and morality that gives the depth and substance meant to be explored and understood for its audiences. In hindsight, some of the best lessons are timeless. The most memorable villains are the ones so grandiose and so unquestionably evil, you might wonder what has led them down this chosen path so remorselessly. What is the tragedy or the very real human problem that has transformed innocent souls into misguided men and women? You might even wonder what their purpose is beyond just being evil. And the answer? It's to provide that sense of opposition for our intrepid heroes, the ones who mature and become the people they were meant to become, the ones that lead by example, the ones who fight the good fight for all the good reasons, the ones who go the extra mile to be human and provide that sense of kindness and justice that brings balance to the world and all things. Good and evil are defined. To every virtue there is a sin. To every error there is an answer. To bridge the connection to one or the other, that's the true test of character. And that's not just to fictional characters, that's to everyone, even you. It is the continuous struggle by which an individual will be set apart. Will they succumb to the infinite imperfections of an imperfect world, or will they stand out and make a difference, even for their own lives? These abstract ideals may seem lofty or impossible to consider, but the road to good or evil doesn't start with drama and theatrics, but choices, as mundane and as normal as eating bread. A person is best remembered for what they do beyond the call of duty and the kind of person they naturally are. You don't remember Dante solely because he's a demon hunter. You remember Dante because he's a supernatural demon hunter with a wisecracking attitude who loves pizza and who loves annoying his friends with generous amounts of sarcasm. In contrast, Virgil's absolute confidence and demigod levels of hubris are what makes him almost like a force of nature than anything else. Perhaps it's not about the character, but the setting and the themes that engulf them. This too is a reflection of morality, specifically the outcomes of good or bad decisions, usually the latter. as it is a broken world that awaits a new destiny at the hands of the bright and the brash, the sullen and the fallen, the calculating and the impulsive. We remember our favorite heroes because they inspire us to change. We remember the most devious villains because of the sheer magnitude and depth of their antagonism. We remember certain protagonists and antagonists because we can relate to their very human traits. All these things are the gateway to self-reflection and understanding, not unlike the purpose behind classic folklore and myth. Morality in storytelling is timeless. It is the sense of good and evil, the sweet and the bitter, the heartfelt and the heartless, that invites us to think, to truly consider what we would do if we were in the same position as those we read about or watch on a screen. It is not just about what ifs about our own personality, but a mirror to our own natures. Would we make the same choice? Can we make a difference? More than anything, it's an envelope that invites us to change. It's the invitation to Hogwarts, the Gandalf knocking on our hobbit door, the Aslan that waits on the other side of the wardrobe. And it starts and finishes with ourselves.